I know this dude played in Breaking Bad. This white dude. Oh,
Yeah,
fuck.
he actually married to Kristen Dunst.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I didn't know we was the same age. That's crazy.
Oh, he the same age as us?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Damn.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I never said anything.
Yeah, you did. You said plenty.
I can't help what you interpret, sir. But those words never came out of my mouth.
What words might they? What words might those be, Dante? Nigga said, "Oh damn, fuck, shit, damn, fuck happened." What you mean? What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Cinecism. I'm Eric.
It's your boy Dante, man, and today we're going to be doing a review on Judas and the Black Messiah.
Well, first of all, the story is about Fred Hampton, who was a chairman of like one of the Black Panther chapters in Chicago. It's basically about how the FBI infiltrated this chapter in the Black Panther Party to try to take him down because they thought he was becoming too powerful. They enlist the help of Bill O'Neill, played by Lakeith Stanfield, and he becomes an FBI informant, basically. They take him off the street. They basically blackmail him or bribe him into becoming an informant. Bill O'Neill then infiltrates the Black Panther Party. He becomes a close friend of Fred Hampton. This is how they go about taking him down. It's a pretty tragic story.
You know, the story of Fred Hampton always been a pretty sad one, especially because he was so young and the things that he accomplished at that age. I'm pretty sure that was the driving factor that drove a lot of the fear. You know, the fact that at that age he was able to cultivate that type of a following. This movie, interestingly enough, it's about Fred Hampton, but then it's also part of which about Bill O'Neill. Like, we don't really get to know him personally, but it's just as much his story as Fred Hampton's, at least in this movie. The movie kind of opens and ends with him in a sense. It's interesting that they kind of took that approach.
So first you have Fred Hampton, played by Daniel Kaluuya. Kaluuya?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I be wanting to say Kaluuya too.
Yeah.
It feels better, but it ain't right.
You know, man, first off, let me say, after watching some interviews of Fred Hampton, man, like I feel like he really did a good job with the voice, like the accent and everything. Yes. I didn't expect him to sound so close when I went back and watched some of his interviews. I was like, man, he kind of nailed it. I don't know. And people might have mixed feelings about it, but me personally, I thought he did a good job, especially considering that this is a European actor. Fred Hampton, man, young, very powerful, charismatic guy. For his age, he was very intelligent and very much aware of the social, cultural, and racial injustice that was going on at that time. And the way that he went about addressing that and talking to people about it, not even just black people, but the way that he was able to reach the hearts of, you know, people that might have some kind of reservations toward other races. I thought it was very effective, man, because that's a side of the whole Black Panther movement that you don't get to see as often, I feel.
Oh, yeah.
He was very much in touch with classism and social injustices that were going on. So it wasn't just about like black people for him personally. It was basically the people versus those in power. Him as a person, he just had this presence to him, man. Like, he really had a way of bringing you in, you feeling and empathizing with his cause, I felt.
Yeah, Fred Hampton was just one of those people, just like a lot of our great leaders at that time, that were really, truly, and wholeheartedly for the betterment of people in general. Black people especially, because those were his people. But Fred saw beyond that, and he wanted to unify people. He saw the common conditions among poor people, really, and he saw that the system was not only beating down black people, but beating down other people of different races and things like that. And, you know, he formed the Rainbow Coalition, and that was a big part of, I think, why they felt he was so dangerous. Because, I mean, one thing to unify, galvanize a group of black people, of course, they don't want that neither. But the fact that you could galvanize black people and you could also have a presence in that kid, inspire other people of different groups and bring them together. Police brutality was affecting everybody in that community. And it wasn't just black people in that community. It was poor white people in that community, poor Hispanic people in that community. And there was a common cause. Daniel Kaluuya did an amazing job, man. Just from the moment he steps on screen and starts speaking, like Eric said, just the way that he even mimicked his mannerisms and his voice is just really impressive. And even beyond that, just he managed to capture, I think, his essence overall.
Next you have Bill O'Neill, played by Lakeith Stanfield, who, you know, man, Lakeith is like one of my favorite actors right now, man. He like really gets into these roles, man.
Yeah.
Bill is this guy that he just, it's like it's so weird because it's like I look at him like when he's like talking to and dealing with the FBI and then dealing with the Black Panthers. I'm like, man, is this dude, does he feel remorse for anything he does? And then I've watched interviews with the actual guy too. I don't think he ever, at least he never made it known that he was remorseful for like his actions. Because at the end of the day, I know the enemy was the FBI. Like they kind of forced him to do this, but he never really expressed any kind of regret for the things he did. Not to the extent that I felt that somebody in that position might, you know what I mean? Yeah. It was weird. I mean, I know he went on to eventually, I guess, kill himself. They said it was an accident, but I mean, it sounded like a suicide to me.
Very coincidental
to me. But he played an interesting character because like you don't really know what's going through his mind. Yeah, you can see that he's stressed out from the situation. You can tell he doesn't want to necessarily be in that situation, but it's the way that he expresses it. It was interesting to me. It's all I can say. Yeah. I didn't know what was going through his mind at this time. Like, what was your take on it?
Lakeith did an amazing job. I'll start there, and I agree with you.
He did seem conflicted. I guess we can say that. But
you know what? I'll say that was few and far between because at the end of the day, I think it was true to probably who the guy was. And of course, I didn't know him personally, but somebody that will become an informant is somebody that at the core of it all is choosing their own personal self-preservation over all else. Yeah. So at the end of the day, even though it was parts where you felt like he was empathizing and maybe even becoming really immersed in the world of the Panthers, the movie never stopped to remind you that no, he's about self. When they got in a shootout, that nigga booked it. So whenever things got like murky, he would get the fuck out of there, or he would find some type of way in which to manipulate the situation to protect himself. And I think the movie did a good job, at least of representing that. At the end of the day, man, he always chose him.
Yeah, at his core, and
I think that speaks to, regardless of how he felt inside, ultimately his actions were that of a selfish, self-preserving individual. What can you say about the guy? Obviously, he's not likable because ultimately what he did led to a great figure's demise. And to be really honest with you, man, even outside of just his performance, the guy, on some level, I empathize with him because he's a victim too. He was just a young black kid caught up in the system as well. Yeah. Now, he made a choice, and that choice ultimately led to somebody's death. So I can't empathize with that. But on some level, I do understand that he just a part of the same white supremacist system that got Fred killed. He just was on the other side of the coin.
You brought up a very good point about his age, though, because that does play a major factor into it, because he was like 19 or something.
Yeah, I was about to say, you think about how young Fred was. I mean, they were around the same age. Yeah, so when he got recruited,
they took full advantage of that. Yeah, so, you're a 19-year-old dude, especially dangerous times like that, the racially charged times like that. It's a scary situation. Yeah. I know now, us being in our 30s, we have the maturity and wisdom and the resolve to hopefully not do something like that in that position. But I know I was a very different person at 19. I don't know what I would have done at that age if I was scared and I didn't know what to do. And I was in the 60s, you know what I'm saying? But I definitely understand how somebody could be angry. I never knew truly how he felt about it. Like, even in his later years, I never knew whether or not he was actually sorry for what he did.
I felt like this is what I'll say to that. Because I seen some of the interviews that you saw, probably. I could see on a deeper level that he was affected, but he never conveyed that. The simple fact that, of course, they're saying that it maybe was accidental. I'm going to say it was a suicide. It's just too much of a coincidence, not. But the fact that he would commit suicide after seeing the interview or whatever that documentary aired in which he gave his account of the events kind of speaks to that in a way too, because it's like, if you really felt comfortable with the decisions that you made, you'd be able to live with it. The fact that he couldn't, I'm sure he was tormented about that.
Of course.
Once again, we'll never truly know how he felt. Yeah. But given the outcome, I think it would be safe to say that on a deep level, he was impacted.
After being in such close contact with somebody and seeing what they're about and eating with these person and being around them for all this time and getting to know them.
And seeing them on a human level.
Yeah, that got it. Yeah, I got it.
Of course.
Especially when you see what they're about. I know now I think about it. I had to have told him.
And the fact of the matter is, we kind of negating the fact that Fred Hampton got killed, so did Mark Clark. A lot of people got wounded in that shit too. Like, it was shootout. People really got hurt. For it to be anybody, I would imagine that would impact you. But for it to be the figure that he was, knowing what he meant to the movement, to the Black Panther Party, and beyond that, what he was trying to accomplish and potentially was going to accomplish, yeah, man, this dude was never right. We kind of didn't mention that the FBI really spearheaded by J. Edgar Hoover, who was really the person. I know, what a piece of shit. Just some of the things that they said in this movie, it just, of course they bothersome, but it's just like, the way that these people,
it's like evil, bro.
Yeah, it's no evil. Other way to describe it. Divide and conquer, create this fear among people. The Black Panther Party was a reactionary party to the conditions.
That's what people fail to understand.
The time.
That's what actually really pisses me off when they compare the Black Panther Party to the Ku Klux Klan.
When the nigga said they're like the Klan, I'm like, sir, not even remotely close. The Ku Klux Klan is literally formed out of hatred. A group that was built to protect a group of people who were disenfranchised and pretty much getting abused and murdered.
That really infuriates me when people.
Of course. The thing that I enjoyed about this movie is that they showed what the Panthers were really about. Was there's truly unity. You got to see the free lunch program, that Black pride that was probably missing at that time. And like, how could it not be? You getting beat down, constantly told you not nothing. And the Panthers, kind of instilled this pride, this way to just hold your head up, and you felt like you were a part of something great. And they were really trying to help the community, free legal aid for those who were in prison, trying to provide free health care for the community. They don't mention a lot of that stuff. They always get painted as this pretty much essentially a terrorist group with guns. Anytime you see the Panthers, they just got guns. They just look very threatening.
Like the Ku Klux Klan was formed solely to terrorize Black people.
Yeah.
Like the Black Panther Party was formed to defend against people like that.
Yeah, correct.
First of all, Black people at that time were getting, not even just at that time, but it's in general, getting poor education, poor facilities. So an organization is formed to help remedy that, and then they're defined as a terrorist organization. What you got for key moments, man?
You know what, man? This movie was, first of all, very beautifully shot. Cinematically, did a really good job of, just capturing a certain type of energy.
Yeah, it was real gritty, man.
One of my favorite scenes was the whole scene where they went to go meet with the Crowns, and just everything from the start of that, from just the way they shot it, where they open the keyhole and you just see him, he introduce himself, and then they walk in there, it's just people against the wall with guns. Just cinematically, it looked amazing. To me, I thought, if anything, that moment really captured Fred's ability to just speak to people, because they literally walked in the Lion's Den unarmed of this street game. There was probably 50 to 100 people strong. There was maybe 5 of them. And Fred just walked in there, talked to the leader about how he was trying to unify, you know what I'm saying, and bring everybody together. That was a great scene to kind of speak to the essence of what Fred's ability was to actually galvanize people. It was, I just thought that was so dope.
We got to talk about the last scene, man, the murder, because that's what it was. The assassination.
Yes.
That shit was intense, the way they shot up that house, man. It was just no concern, no care. They don't care if it's children, women, nothing. Just shooting. Yeah. These were police? These were FBI agents or police officers?
The whole raid assassination was organized by the FBI, but I think it might have been local law enforcement involved as well. Yeah, it sounds about right. All I could just imagine was that if something like that happened to you, a house with a group of your friends and people just come in there shooting, you don't really know who they are, you don't know what they want. They didn't really identify themselves as police. I didn't hear it, or if they did, you couldn't probably hear it over the 90 shots fired of gunshots. But we talk about how Bill O'Neill feels. I often wonder how these officers feel about a lot of the stuff they did back then. But I've seen interviews for some of this, not in relation to Fred Hampton, but just in relation to the FBI's involvement in Malcolm X. And they, for the most part, they don't feel no remorse. You know what I'm saying? It's like they feel like they were on the right side of history, because I think whatever rhetoric was instilled in them is just not going nowhere. They feel like they did their civic duty, I'm sure, or in some ways were probably heroes.
Yeah, that's so heroic.
Right, exactly. It's crazy, man. The way that perspective can just turn you into essentially a monster. Anybody that would shoot up a house with pregnant women.
No arrests, nothing. Just no trial. Just murder. Yeah,
I don't care who it is. Anybody that would do these actions is insane and crazy. They need to be off the streets. Even things that led up to that, the story goes that they're not 100% sure if Bill O'Neill actually drugged Fred Hampton, but a lot of people say it's safe to assume that, first of all, they're pretty sure that he was drugged. They just don't know if it was Bill O'Neill that did it. If he did that, Like, dog, you directly responsible. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, not even just having a hand in it. The blueprint thing has been proven to be true. So he did draw up like a rough schematic of his house. Mm-hmm. But it's like, yeah, just going back to what we said is just like, nigga, yeah, it's no way your soul was right.
So the drugging, though, was the drugging to...
They said that it was enough fentanyl in the system to kill him. So
was he trying to kill him peacefully?
I think
was he trying to subdue him for the people to run up?
From what I read about it, I think the intent was to just sedate him to the point where he would be passive in case when they came in and shot him, so he would be easy to take down. But I think the amount that they gave him, who the fuck was this? Whoever administered, I'm sure it wasn't a doctor. They said ultimately, if the gunshots didn't kill him, he would have probably died from just the amount of drugs that was in his system. I guess one of the last things that I say about this, or something that I was conflicted on this. I wish that this movie had solely focused on Fred Hampton. The guy that was responsible for his murder, this was just as much his movie as it was Fred's, even though they didn't paint him in the greatest light, even though he wasn't a likable character. Obviously, he probably couldn't be just given the circumstances. This guy was a nobody. He wasn't somebody that was impactful really in the party. I think the movie tried to make him be that way, but he was just some guy. He was the head of security, but I mean, why would the head of security be part of the movie? I understand he was an integral part in his demise. I'm not saying that they completely take him out of the movie, but he's a main character in this movie. He might have more screen time than Fred Hampton himself, because Fred went to jail at a point in this movie, and we kind of see some of him in jail. But during that time when he's locked up, you pretty much just see Bill O'Neill's character. No disrespect. I just don't give a fuck, and I don't think that this guy deserves to have any spot in any movie or any place in history. Now his name getting Googled. He's not a person that did anything worth remembering. He just played a role in getting this guy killed. The same way we don't know any of these FBI people's names. I just feel like he should be an ambiguous figure, especially the fact that it was never any redemption on his part. Like, if he had become maybe like a community activist after all of this and actually, maybe imparted himself and redeemed himself in some way, to me, that's a story. The fact that he just played this role, he was self-indulgent and played this role in getting him killed and a bunch of other people shot and other people killed and God knows who else. This is just the people we know about. I'm sure him being an informant in the Black Panther Party, he was giving information on other people as well. So it's just, you don't know how many people's lives he destroyed, and the fact that he in this movie in any way just was bothersome to me. We didn't get to know really nobody else in the party. It was more interesting people. I would have liked to get to know maybe some more of them, but not really, right? It just kind of was focused on him in that way. It's just like, nigga, fuck him. Like, what does he do? He ain't do nothing.
That's a good point, though. He did have a lot of screen time, but it is called Judas in the Black Messiah.
And that I understood. I understand from a movie standpoint, it's probably more of an interesting story to put the informant and that whole thing with the FBI. And I get it, cinematically, but the fact that this was a real person and this really happened, I don't feel great about that. What is your position on the ongoing argument about British actors taking American roles, specifically when it comes to our predominant Black leaders? How do you feel about that?
Man, it's funny you said that, because I did just read something about that the other day. Yeah. I don't feel a way about it personally, because my thought process is this European actor can be more knowledgeable on it than some of our American, like, it's a lot of American people, Black people, that don't even know who some of these people are or some of these figures are. Not to say that, the actors wouldn't, but it's just like, why does that matter? I mean, I don't feel anything towards it. Like, as long as a person is portrayed accurately, I don't really have any reservations about who portrays the person. I mean, how do you feel?
I look at it as them getting the best actor that they can for the role. And to be perfectly honest, when you see some of these people's performances, when you see his performances, Fred Hampton, and the gentleman's performance in Selma, it's hard to argue that they probably were the best person for it. They did such a powerhouse performance. Now, if there was some type of agenda that was preventing African-American actors from portraying these people, then I would be on board with that. But I don't think that's what's going on. I think that it just so happens that, because we've had American figures play our iconic American figures, Will Smith played Muhammad Ali, Denzel played Malcolm X, and the list goes on and on and on. So to me, I don't think don't think that that's the mindset when they actually get these people. I can't argue with the way that Daniel Kaluuya did in this movie. I thought he did such a great job. And I don't know why that's become an argument. I can understand maybe from an actor standpoint, but why we would adopt that as the viewer don't make sense to me. Divide and conquer. Like, what? It's just another reason to separate us.
Speaking from a viewer's perspective,
right.
But I don't understand what the conflict would be. Black American actors have been playing Black historical figures for decades.
Right.
So I don't know if that's like a thing, but you know, I could be wrong. I'm not going to say I paid much attention to that, but I don't see any kind of pattern with that.
The problem I have with it is that it's just so much unknown. I don't know how it came to be that he had this role. Maybe an American actor originally got it and turned it down. We just don't know, you know. And in order to make a definitive stance on something like this, I would need to know more about the process. And that's kind of what I was saying. Like, based off what I know, I don't see nothing wrong with it. But if there's some type of agenda preventing African-American actors from playing these roles, then yes, that needs to be addressed immediately.
Overall, I thought Judas and the Black Messiah was a pretty solid watch. Performances were pretty good. I really enjoyed Lakeith Stanfield and Daniel Kaluuya's performances. The way in which they expressed their personality traits, I thought was handled well. Overall, I'm going to give this movie a 8 out of 10. What do you think?
I really enjoyed this movie, man. I thought Daniel Kaluuya, I mean, he's the heart and soul of this movie because he is playing Fred Hampton. He just did a phenomenal job at just capturing that, man. Whenever he spoke on screen, I'm always impressed with an actor that could just command you with just them talking. You know what I'm saying? They just pull you in, and he just did a great job at doing that. And he felt like a leader. He felt like when he was back, you felt like things were going to be okay. The viewpoint that you got to see of the Panthers, a side that you don't often get to see, that's not often displayed. I'm glad that was on full display here as well. It just was great performances throughout, man. The cinematography was great. I'm going to give Judas and the Black Messiah a 8.5. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good movie.
All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in to our review of Judas and the Black Messiah, particularly for people that are interested in history, and specifically Black history and, you know, true events that took place. I definitely would suggest this movie. It's a good watch. It's kind of tragic. It's kind of graphic at some points, especially toward the end. So just be aware of that when you go to watch it. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any suggested reviews for movies or trailers or series that you'd like us to do, you can drop a comment below, please.
Absolutely. And if you guys have seen Judas and the Black Messiah, please let us know what you thought. What's your take on the whole debate about British actors taking on the mantle of Black American figures? Like, how do you feel about that? How did you feel about the performances overall? What's your take on the movie in general? We would love to hear about it. We appreciate y'all, man.
Thank y'all.
Peace.